Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is February 26, 2026. Hey, look at that. And this is, don't help me. Don't help me. I could do this. All right, so, episode 965.
You're correct.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. I am James Jones. We're joined today by the returning John Lindemann.
Great to be here, James.
Great to have you, John. Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
And Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello.
2 weeks ago, we said we were going to do our top 5, but then John had to dip on us, which not a big deal. We were able to kind of put a show together on the other side of that, but we're going to do it this week. So for those of you who are new to the RFN experience, one, I don't think you're real. I don't know that I don't know that we get new listeners, and the thought of new listeners coming into this 1,000 episodes in is terrifying.
You've missed so much lore.
You've missed so much lore, and it's for the better for you, probably. We, sometime a long time ago, decided it wasn't worth trying to do, like, Game of the Year. And this is something that, I want to say we started it here, and then it matriculated into NWR writ large. But the idea is that generating a Game of the Year for an outlet, even an outlet with only 4 people, is a goddamn nightmare. John and I have both run that process, and it sucks. So we didn't want to do that anymore. And so what we did instead is we just sort of like came up with these are the games we really like, philosophy, where we each kind of go around and give our top 5 games of the year in reverse numeric counting down. We count down. We also give some honorable mentions between 2 and 1 as is necessary. But last year was a rough year for Nintendo fans because there wasn't a lot coming out. The rules around top 5 are personal. That is to say, John definitely has a different perspective on how to do this list than I do. I don't allow games from previous years. John, as you will hear, does not care about that rule. There's not a rule to him. So that is fine.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good this year. I'm good this year.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but I mean, this has been a thing in the past that we've made jokes about. I think the only thing that is actually a rule... Well, no, I was going to say the only thing is that's actually a rule that's on a Nintendo system, but that's not true either. We have had people pick non-Nintendo games on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like I said, this is very open to interpretation. Some of us are more religiously, dogmatic about what it is, and some of us are less. So, we're not going to try to articulate everybody's positions on things. You'll probably figure it out as we go. But to set the mood, Guillaume has gracefully. Jesus, I assume he was very graceful in the process.
Sure.
I lost what word I was going for now.
Graciously,
yeah.
Yes.
Collected last year's top 5s for us, and Guillaume, if you would please share with the class.
Sure.
What games we liked, because I don't remember what games I liked last year.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Greg because he probably stuck closer to the assignment than anyone else. So number 5 for Greg was Castlevania Dominus Collection. And of course, yes, it's a collection of older games, but the rationale there is that it also contains a new Castlevania game, so it counted.
Well, a reclamation of an old one, kind of, with the haunted castle sort of, which, yeah, I mean, it was somewhat faithful, but equally it could be considered a new game because it's rather different, much, much easier, and much, much more fun than the arcade game ever was.
Mm-hmm. Number 4 was Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. Number 3 was The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Number 2 was Prince of Persia The Last Crown, which came out early in 2024. And number 1 was Animal Well, which is, I think, recognized as a great game by most people. Not all of our lists had games that are recognized as great by all people, I think. So, well, no, but I'm mostly thinking about mine. I'm going to go with mine because I'm honestly ashamed of it. Like, it really sucks. And really...
What?
It should have been a top 2, and it's not a strong 2. So, number 5 was, what's it called? Natsumon? The game where you play as a little boy having a vacation in Japan. That's how much it's stuck in my head. Like, I barely played that game, and I don't remember the full
20th century
title.
kid.
Yes. I don't think it's really top 5 worthy, but that's what I went with. Number 4 was Arcade Archives Metamorphic Force, which is done in like 20 minutes, but it was pretty. I do remember that. Number 3 was Euphoria the Saga 2, which at this point in time I don't really recommend to anyone. You already played it if you wanted to. It was not a top 3 game. I'm sorry. Number 2 was Little Kitty Big City, which is all right. Sure.
That's good. That's good.
And number 1 was Thank Goodness You're Here, which really is I think was probably the best game of that year for me. But yeah, so that's probably the only one I don't have any kind of misgivings about. Like I feel like it was definitely top 5 material. And I guess in a weak year, it was top 1 material.
I mean, it was the year before console launch, so it does make sense. Things were a little weak.
Yeah. James, your list was I don't know. You said something like Sagrius, some visual novel thing, right?
Sagrius. Yeah, it's the sailing game.
Okay. I have no idea.
Sagres. Yeah, it's the game about sailing and exploration.
Okay. Number 4 was Echoes of Wisdom. Number 3 was Unicorn Overlord.
Interesting.
Yeah. Number ahead of Unicorn Overlord, but you were in the process of replaying it back then, I think. When you were writing this list. Number 2 is East 10. And number 1, it was Thank Goodness You're Here.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good list.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about East 10, so I was still going, what the hell beat Unicorn Overlord?
And now, John had as his number 5, Stardew Valley, which did not come out in 2024. Skyrim, which definitely didn't come out in 2024. Castlevania Dominus Collection, which I have to say qualifies because I already said it did for Greg.
Skyrim probably came out in 2024.
Probably.
I guess. But not the Switch one.
Listen to the disapproval in his voice, right?
Skyrim
this
for
is the
something
thing.
came out.
This is the kind of thing that, Skyrim veterans like myself deal with,
I can't wait for John to
it was
Skyrim
not
on
even,
his list.
I think it was not even Skyrim that you nominated as your 4th game of 2024. It was a particular build. Like, it was your first time trying an archer or some shit.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's right. I remember this.
Come on. I mean...
I said everyone does this game differently.
This is a personal ad hominem attack here.
It's not ad hominem if it's true.
Yeah, no, it's I skimmed it, and that's what you seem to be saying, so it's true. Castlevania is number 3. Echoes of Wisdom is number 2. I didn't remember that I'm the only one who hasn't played that game. And number 1 was Metroid Prime Remastered. So, that's
terrible.
a liberty is taken. Yeah. But, some
tough
years,
crowd.
I guess, like, we try to produce a game of the year, but sometimes we're like, you know what? Let's just produce a game. And we'll see about the year.
There are years where it does feel like the goal is just, God, I have to come up with a 5th game. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, definitely, like, I wish I had gone to source from other years because I'm not proud of the list that I did come up with.
I mean, it is what it is. Like I stick to like if I didn't have the rule around like it's got to be on a Nintendo system, although it will be this year. I'd have put Indiana Jones up there, way up there. That game's amazing. You should play that game, John. Why haven't you played that game yet?
I just picked it up. It's on sale, and I just picked it up this week.
Great.
So
It's great.
Yep.
I really like that game, and it's fun, and man, you get to kill so many Nazis. Like, just... and when you're bored of that, you can go take out Italian fascists. It's great. But yeah, I didn't put it on there, because I'm much more of like it's got to be a Nintendo game. But, so that meant that some years making this list was really fucking... like, we did this through the Wii U years, just as a reminder. Like, we've had some dark years to do this activity.
Those would have been dark.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of 3DS stuff that on a normal occasion would have come nowhere near the list, but it's like, this is a functional game that came out this year.
I feel John had Demon's Crest on his list one of those years, which
I was reaching pretty hard.
That is the proper response to that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be right. Like, as nauseating a thought as that is, it's like, nah, Demon's Crest is the answer. But this year, I would love to tell you we don't have such concerns, but I'm sure we do. If you felt like we were vamping a little bit, we were vamping a little bit. We're giving Johnson time to finish up his list.
I'm done. I'm good to go, man.
Cool. All right. Well, then you know what, John? You know what? If you're so fucking ready, why don't you go first? Well, John, what is your first game?
Sure, my first game, and a couple of these. It's funny. There's a couple co-op games on my list here, and I haven't even talked about them on the show. It's just because when I played them, I was like, well, I'm not done them yet, so I'll come back to them. I just never came back to them. Number one is, my number 5 is Lego Voyagers, which is a really cool little co-op game. And it's where you are a little Lego piece, and you roll through environments, and you do a lot of puzzle solving, and and of course you can pick up the Lego pieces and create bridges out of them and stuff like that. So a lot of it is sort of going through this environment, which is which is all made of Lego parts, right? So it looks perfect, looks exactly like you would expect like real Lego to look, which is really cool. And you're trying to ultimately reassemble a spaceship, and so you go through several different stages of that, and you go through a factory, and you do all this kind of stuff, and you have to solve all these little puzzles. It's really cool, really, really cute. Just super fun to play through, and your little Lego guy is really, really adorable. And just a well-made game. And it doesn't overwhelm you with, it is cute, but it doesn't try to be too cute. It doesn't, there's no dialogue whatsoever in the game, which is actually these days incredibly refreshing. And so, yeah.
Shut the fuck up. John Lindemann, 2028, 2026.
But that's the thing. I feel like any kind of game like this, especially games that are kind of geared towards kids, which this game is not. It's not really difficult per se. It has some clever puzzles and some things where it's not completely obvious. But usually, you're rolling through as you can roll to the left and you kind of you can just manipulate your little guy and attach to certain things. In ways that aren't necessarily completely obvious. And a lot of that, I feel like they try to handhold you through a lot of things, typically in games like this. And Lego Voyagers, it really kind of straddles that line between, not being so heavy-handed that it talks you through things. Everything is fairly obvious until the end. Right? It's not like it doesn't make it so hard that it has to talk you through. It keeps a very good difficulty balance. So if you're into Lego, and just kind of want a breezy, it's a pretty short game, very easy to kind of get all the achievements and stuff like that. There's not really a whole lot of achievements. But it's just, very much kind of, cute stuff like, you can hop on a swing and just kind of swing there and you get an achievement sort of thing. It's like kind of environmental stuff that you can do. If there's an amusing thing to do, you're usually rewarded for it.
If you're playing it single player, is it worth it?
No, I don't even think there's no single player.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough then.
Yeah. So it's
asked and
pure,
answered.
Yeah, it's pure co-op.
Okay.
So, but that's good though, because it's good in the sense that you can go through it pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's funny. I feel like co-op games, it's like at a certain point, it's like you're just ready to move on, and we'll see. I have another game on my list where that happens, but
I was seeing on Deku Deals that there's also a Friends Pass, so someone can play for you don't need 2 copies. You can just play with whoever has the full game.
Yeah, Guy. So you should definitely take a look at it. You can play through it in I don't even know how many hours, like probably 6-8 hours, something like that. So
sure.
That's my number 5.
Beautiful. Greg, what's your number 5?
Yep, so I'd say just as a general matter with this year's list, definitely was quite a few games I would have liked to get to that I didn't that could have had I could envision, could have been on the list. We mentioned last week Shinobi, the new one for Switch, certainly would have been a candidate. But really, I guess the biggest feature of just the games that I did get to is that I would say there's a bit of a separation at the very top, and the rest of them, they're so close, like between 2 and stuff that didn't even get on. There really isn't a big gap. So, it's, don't take these. And in some cases, you're talking about very different games, right? So, you can run into the sort of incommensurability problem of like, how do you rank things that don't really satisfy in similar ways at all? But for number 5, I'm going with Eartheon. This is the Yuzo Koshiro headed retro shoot 'em up. Not just in the style of a Mega Drive game, it is literally a Mega Drive game. I think probably the cartridge version has come out by now, maybe, but obviously it launched digitally and I think with like physical versions as well in various territories on Switch and other platforms. And yeah, I really quite enjoyed it. I think because even though they're sort of pushing the Mega Drive kind of hardware and the design constraints that come with that pretty hard, probably harder than any sort of game authentically from that period like would have done. It's not in such a way that it's just like, okay, there's 1,000,001 things going on the screen and it's just completely overwhelming and it's just like aimed exclusively at the most kind of enthusiastic and capable shoot 'em up players. Certainly, there are options when it comes to difficulty and whatnot, and I didn't choose the most difficult option, certainly, but just playing it kind of down the middle, it felt like a nice balance in terms of, there is a lot going on. It is, fast and furious kind of action, but it's just not like to the completely overwhelming point. It's just kind of a nicely balanced game. It's somewhere in the region of like maybe the Mega Drive, the Thunder Force games 3 and 4 kind of, but with its own kind of features, especially I think that's probably, one of the more kind of welcoming aspects maybe to people who are not just versed in retro shoot 'em ups, where like getting hit isn't like an instant death. You've got you can like expand your health, and you've got these sort of aspects where it's like, okay, you may lose like weapon power or specific weapons altogether, by taking damage in a concentrated period, but like it's stuff you can kind of get back. You're not in that situation where, sometimes in your games like Gradius, where it's kind of like if you die at a certain point, there really isn't a very plausible way back, where it's just, okay, well, I did have everything. I had, all the options, all the missiles, the, laser, shield, all that, but now that I've died here, where from that checkpoint, like you can't really build up that much of an arsenal up until a point where you hit hazards and enemies where you really need that arsenal to overcome it, at least, if you've got the modest skill set that I have. So you don't run into stuff like that so much here. It's pretty kind of accessible in that way, but still feels pretty authentic, especially when you get the Koshiro music. You're making that the best possible sort of imaginable use of the Mega Drive sound hardware in that way and everything. So I really quite enjoyed this one. Not certainly not the game or one of the games I spent the most time with during that time, because again you see a lot of it very quickly, but something you certainly can come back to because it's satisfying and it's just concentrated fun in that old school way.
Cool. Guillaume, what is your number 5?
So this much earlier than it probably should be, but Mario Kart World, which I did enjoy enough to put in my top 5, but I had to put it at number 5 just because I stopped playing it so quickly. But I do enjoy the look of it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's still, the same kind of the Mario Kart fun that it's always had. And I do enjoy the kind of the stunt system, even though I'm not really that good at it. But I did feel myself getting the hang of it as I played more and more, but not to the extent that I've seen some people online just push it, just seemingly managing to grab on to flip off elements in the background that don't seem like you could touch it,
Stunt shit.
I'm just not that precise, I don't have that kind of and I don't want to practice the same the same tracks over and over again. But it's good. So part of it is that I dropped it fairly quickly, and that's kind of surprising. And the other part of it is that like people were talking about like, oh, like how come there's no more kind of support? Like they should have announced DLC tracks and by this time. And I always thought like, well, didn't take forever for Mario Kart 8 to get DLC, but no, actually it didn't. I looked at the dates on the on Wikipedia, and just like within months, like the DLC was announced, and it was released not that long after that.
Definitely. That was like really quite formative in the Nintendo DLC kind of approach, right? Mm-hmm. Don't forget, they hadn't been doing this DLC for very long at this point. They used to have the policy of like, we ship finished games. It's all on the disc or the card or whatever it would be. And, that's that. But they, especially, when the situation the Wii U found itself in, and just the realities of, this is too much money to be leaving on the table anymore. They, kind of started to formulate an approach of like, okay, well, how can we sort of try and maintain the perception that the game is worth buying at launch, but still have these kind of DLC plans? And this is where it was kind of, oh, well, if you buy it now, you get your colours of Yoshis and Shy Guys, now, you get something now in the spirit later of, Link getting the red t-shirt or whatever.
Right, yeah.
God. And then with promise of that, a clear plan of like when the tracks are going to drop later.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about Mario Kart World. I do enjoy like all the silly costumes. They're most of them are pretty fun to unlock. I do enjoy to some degree roaming around the open world map and doing some of the challenges there. Although I'm nowhere near, I haven't finished any of that. But yeah, it baffles me that Donkey Kong Bonanza came out, and like surely Donkey Kong had only 2 costumes in Mario Kart World because they were holding them back for the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza.
We all thought that.
Yeah, and that's not what happened. No, there was nothing. No. So I can only assume that maybe the Mario Kart World team is working at a bigger update than that. I don't know. Or maybe it's all hands on deck to produce other stuff for the Switch too. Like I guess that the excuse that they can have here is that like it's the release year of the Switch 2, whereas Mario Kart 8, sorry, brain fart. Mario Kart 8 came out, when the Wii U was a little bit more mature.
Sure. It was pretty much already over, wasn't it? Even though Mario Kart 8 did very, very well for itself, considering how, poor Wii U sales were in general. There wasn't much it could do to move the needle at that point.
And the more cynical side of me is like, oh, they're holding back updates for when people's online subscriptions are going to run out. We'll see. I hope that they announce something sooner rather than later, I guess, because at the core, I think, at its core, it's a good game, but I think I'm ready for more of it, I guess.
Nintendo is now rubbing their hands together going, yes, more.
So what's your number 5, James?
Yeah, what's my number 5, James? I'm gonna go with Fantasy Life I: the girl who steals time, because it's an apt fucking name. This game is a time vampire. Basically, it's got, I don't remember how many classes, 10 classes, and they're all kind of interlevied on each other. Oh, you want to craft better tools? Well, you need to get better wood. You want to get better wood? Well, you need a better lumberjack. Oh, you want to be a better lumberjack, huh? Well, you need better be a better blacksmith. You want to be a better blacksmith? You better get better metal. And all of these jobs sort of just like one is your gateway into improving in another. And so you just go down the rabbit hole of like, well, I guess I'm going to build 800 pieces of furniture now to get my carpenter skills up. And then you do. And it turns out that that's kind of fun anyway, even though it sounds really repetitive. There is something fun about like hearing a rumor that there's this super rare tree that's going to produce this wood that you need somewhere in this cave, and it's going to spawn in a little bit. You got to run there and get it and cut it down before it despawns. And then having a literal ass boss fight with the tree, which is to say that it's healing and you need to be able to DPS it to death. There's something about this game that it's like, it gives you just enough hooks to keep you engaged, and it's made just well enough. It's not perfect. There's definitely issues. It's made just well enough that those hooks work. I'm going to be honest. When I heard they were making a third Fantasy Life game, my immediate thought was, this is going to be a disaster. But it wasn't. They saved that for Inazuma 11 remake, or the Inazuma 11 reboot. But this game, mostly okay. Does that increase my trust in level 5? Not in the goddamn slightest.
Yeah.
But this one kind of okay, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than it is good, if that makes sense. And so it's sort of in this sort of milieu of a bunch of different games that could get the top 5 slot, just ended up finding its way at the top of that pile. There is a dividing line between number 5 and everything above it, but when we get to honorable mentions, you'll hear how this played out. All right. I'm keeping notes on what everybody picks, and it's very funny that I felt like I needed to type my own choice when I have all my choices right above them, so I filled out the list for myself now already. But I realized I had typed John's incorrectly. I had typed the phrase Lego Voyeurs, which I'm pretty sure is a different game altogether.
Very different game. Yep, definitely.
I would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
Yeah, still probably involves a lot of rolling around with a partner, and
I don't think the Danish would approve, is my concern.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
They did make that children's show about the guy with the prehensile penis, so I don't know, maybe.
The Swedish definitely.
Puts a bit of a different context on that whole stepping on Legos thing.
You're watching someone step on Legos.
I don't really know enough about Lego terminology to make a joke here.
It's fine.
It does explain why the Lego games you collect studs.
Oh no! You know what? You got it. You got there. I don't know. Maybe that's why every time I go by the Lego store, there's like 58 people in there, like it's a goddamn Apple store, which is across the aisle. I'm not convinced anybody actually does anything in those stores. I think everyone's just trapped there, and their souls have been bound to that space, and they cannot leave. Because I don't think I've ever seen business take place at the Apple Store once. But, John, I'm sitting here looking at an empty number 4 slot, and I need you to put something in it.
Yeah, I'm putting Split Fiction in that spot, another game that I have yet to talk about, but it's another co-op game. I think I briefly mentioned I was playing through this. Yeah, this game is really good, I would say, but, I mean, the game looks great, and, again, it's, basically, 2 people trying to go through these different fantasy worlds that the whole setup is that, of course, there's an evil mega corporation who is using a machine to steal the ideas of authors. And so these 2 women authors, they get brought to this headquarters for what they think is a summit to talk about their ideas and pitch their ideas to get signed to be authors, to be professional authors. And instead their ideas get siphoned by this machine, and they wind up through, hilarity ensues, and they wind up, the 2 of them, getting thrown into this story, or their stories. And so they have to actually go through their particular stories that they've found, and it kind of gets into their psyches, and they go through their subconscious, and so they're kind of working through their own personal issues as they run through these levels, and kind of build their partnership. So it's really, really well done. The game looks absolutely amazing and plays really well. My only real complaint with it is that it's a little over long. You kind of get it. Like, the boss battles, by the end of it, you're like, oh god, here's another boss battle. And the boss battles are they're pretty well done, but it's just like you kind of get the point. There's because you go through the main levels, and there's also some sub levels as well, like some kind of side quests where you go through, and it's a lot of like platforming, but it switches in between sort of behind the shoulder sort of view, but it also sometimes switches into like a 2D kind of platforming sort of thing, and sometimes you and your partner have to go through stuff like, for example, like a large pinball machine like level, and all of these things usually relate to some traumatic experience that one of the women has had in their life, and like the one woman, her father died of cancer, and so some of the levels kind of play into that and her fears and stuff like that. So there's a lot of kind of personal things that you have to work through with these two characters. It's really, really good. And I would suggest, again, Guillaume, if you're looking for a co-op experience, but just be prepared that this is going to take probably maybe 15 hours somewhere in there. So it's quite a commitment. But it's well worth a playthrough. Even though, some of the interplay between the characters is a little bit annoying, because you have the one character who's like really bright and cheery, and the other character is a real downer and always, just kind of, you're like, okay, we get it. You're kind of like an edgy, cynical character. Like, you don't have to drill it into our heads for like 15 hours sort of thing. But nonetheless, very, very good. It's out on Switch too. So I'd highly recommend it. So that's my number 4.
Cool. Greg, what is your number 4?
Well, again, I did have difficulty separating these, so you can blame this as much on numerology as anything else. I'm putting Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in the number 4 slot. Again, for a time, that number 4 was all we had. So, perhaps there was no other slot that realistically could have gone in. But, for me, I did enjoy this very much. And there was, a couple of elements behind it. I think certainly, even though it's essentially just a Switch game, I think it was still a pretty good sort of experience in terms of showing off the Switch 2, with the enhanced performance and just the nature of the kind of the art design and everything. It's kind of simultaneously, brings you back to, the feeling of playing the older Metroid Prime games back in the day, because it is very faithful to that aesthetic, but of course done with so much more detail, and of course the kind of the pre-baked kind of lighting thing that they did. I mean, again, I guess you could say you already saw this if you played Metroid Prime Remastered. You got the playbook was already kind of set out there with how they kind of updated those graphics. It certainly works very well when applied to, these new locations and everything. I guess if I was going to kind of sum it up one way, it would be like sometimes when you see really cool, like concept art in some behind the scenes thing for games, or it could even be for like movies or something. And, you see it and it looks really, really cool. And then when you see like the actual finished game or movie, whatever it might be, location in comparison, it doesn't seem as kind of captivating somehow. And I think a lot of the time it is because, with that particular image, you kind of can just draw it, to evoke the sense of the location. You could just kind of draw it however you like. Whereas, to make the maximum impact with that image. Whereas when you've actually got to, build a set or, build a 3D environment in a video game, you kind of have to work, from any angle and all this kind of stuff. But those, the way, what Retro got going with this pre-baked kind of lighting thing, it does feel like, sort of concept art brought to life, in the game, while you're actually playing it in real time. It's sort of, yes, I guess it's not realistic, you can poke holes in, how much it feels like you're actually there. But in terms of creating some very like arresting imagery, I think it works really well, at least on me anyway. Certainly, it did that for the environments, the original Metroid Prime, and it's doing it, here. So kind of having that again, I think was very effective. And then, in terms of the design and everything, I think, if probably, as you remember when I spoke about it, a few months back or whatever, the main thing that kept striking me is just like, how much they did feel like they were kind of, at pains to go back to something that you could, kind of find a place, for in previous Metroid Prime games, right? It felt like it was very definitely wanted to make sure that, this felt like it belonged in that lineage. Maybe it's not that much of a shock if, there was it was a long and winding road to get to this place that, in the end they kind of came back around to like, let's just make sure, that this does feel like a Metroid Prime game to people. And for the most part, they were successful in that. I'd say probably the biggest thing, that, came up in terms of, where it may be, I don't think it was as successful as previous Metroid Prime games, perhaps, especially the first one, considering that that's the one I replayed most recently, courtesy of the remastered version, is kind of in the dressing up. Like that, the thing about Metroid games, and I've said it many times, one of the things I personally like very much about them is that they pretend that there's this big space for you to go out and explore, but actually it's a lot more kind of, especially if you were just to focus mostly on progressing through the game and beating the final boss or whatever, rather than going and finding every, intricately hidden power up, the expansion that's optional. It's actually quite a straightforward thing, right? It might crisscross, back and forth a little bit, but really there's a kind of path through the game. There's a particular journey, and you'll hit a dead end and you'll have to come back and find another power up somewhere. But a lot of it is how the game dresses up that process and makes it feel organic and like you're finding your way naturally, when in fact they're, prodding you in the right direction and closing things off, and it's not open, and it's not, you can't really screw up that much. It is the truth of the matter. And I guess, with 4 here, somewhat in line, I guess, with where they left off with 3, because that was, disconnected, like environments and stuff. It's a bit more naked about those sorts of things, It's just like, oh well, at a certain point, it's like you need the fire chip or whatever it is, for your arm cannon or whatever. So go and get that, and then we can go to the other place. It's a bit more bold. And, on the one hand, I've played more than enough of these games to know that in the substance, it's not that big of a difference, really. But, presentation and how things feel, it does matter. And I think it does, it's the somewhat less elegant nature of that, on top of, the familiar elements, probably means that it couldn't, get a bit higher in the list. Like if they could really have made it feel, again, perhaps more than would necessarily be truly the case, like it was all densely, interwoven and, kind of disguise the seams a bit better, the experience might have felt a bit more kind of, absorbing, rather than kind of, because of the discrete nature of the areas placed in that desert overworld, and they're not being terribly many interconnections between them. It ends up feeling like going through some levels or, Zelda dungeons, right? We made that comparison plenty of times, but it's to my mind, it's not a drastic departure from the other games in that, and it was just really, really nice to have one of those again after such a long time. So that got it number 4.
Cool. Guillaume, what is your number 4?
I think I'm changing my number 4 and number 3.
I mean, you could have done it and not tell us. We wouldn't know.
Yeah, but that's how close I guess they are. My number 4 is going to be Pampas and Celine, a game that is from December 2024, but that I played in 2025. Yeah, if we were a quote-unquote normal awards show, probably like November is the cutoff.
There'd be an ad right
for
here.
A year. Well, yes, obviously. But also, like games that come out in December might as well not exist, right? So I think that I'm doing it justice or not a favor, but anyway, like I'm including a December game in there. So Pampas and Celine, it was just a delightful co-op game to play. It is this little kind of old 2D side-scrolling adventure game that would be right at home on like the MSX or something, like kind of a slightly Metroid-y level design, where you have to go and explore and find the magic doodads that will allow you to double jump or whatever, so that you can, ever see more of the game's world. You collect little coins that you're gonna, spend at little shops. Everything is little. But the twist here is that this is a simultaneous co-op game, and so your two characters, the two players are not joined at the hip, or like they don't have to be on the same screen at the same time. You can be doing one thing and the other person can just do their own thing all the way across the game's world. There is a way to warp them to you because there are going to be puzzles where you need both of them, or you need a particular character to be there, and so you can just like zap them back to you. But yeah, like it's just a ton of fun. I feel like I've kind of just described the whole thing right here. But it is very well done. Like it really, I think, understood what made those old games work, and the fact that they managed to turn it into such a great co-op experience is really fantastic. I think that the developers are like from the American South. I would need to check. This game was so good, I wanted to go check their other games, but they've all got titles that are so not. They don't, the titles don't look like something I would get into. That I just I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Like they're behind the Unepic game and Unmetal. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing there. I'm glad that this is not called the Unpampas, because I probably would have skipped it.
Nice.
But yeah, Pampas and Celine, just like if you've got someone else to play with, like this is fantastic. You can play it solo, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I did have some people online just like, oh shit, like that was really good. Do you have any other recommendations, like something like this? And I had to say, no, I don't. Like this is pretty much like it's pretty unique. So highly recommended. You'll have a great time.
Cool. All right. My number 4 is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. This is kind of a weird one because part of me is just like, man, they really needed to do more in this game. Like, this is a Zelda game about doing basically whatever the hell you want, even when compared to the previous Zelda game, which was a Zelda game about doing whatever the hell you want. And while they did do some stuff with like combining items with your weapons like you do in Breath of the Wild, or with your arrows, which is a thing you can do in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that makes your arrows super effective, and they did that here as well. It just felt like for a series that has infinite possibilities, they very much hung to the finite. They could have done so much more with the construct concept. The fact that our hero is essentially just RoboLink is kind of disappointing. Like, it's unnecessary that they made a way to put Link in this context. And that yet they did, which goes down to me feeling like they were afraid to push the boat out too far. And this is me saying a lot of bad things about a game that I said is my number 4 game of the year, so I don't know what the fuck's happening here, but it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I feel like this is a game that squandered opportunity while still being really good, being a really good one of these. And so whilst I would have preferred they try some things, take some swings, this is a textbook case of telling someone they need to swing the bat. Sometimes you strike out when you swing the bat, and I still feel like this game would have been more noteworthy if they had swung, and some of those had just been really embarrassing whiffs. Instead, it felt like they kept things relatively close to home, and while it was very proficient and still quite enjoyable, that is the end of it, and I will not remember this game 2 years from now, which sucks, because if you go back to the original Hyrule Warriors, that game is bonkers, and I remember it to this day. And it got more bonkers with time. The Hyrule Warriors from Breath of the Wild, I just remember Time Egg. Just Time Egg. That's it, Time Egg. This one, and bad performance. This one at least performs well, because I was playing it on, it performs well enough. But yeah, it needed more. It needed more ideas, more bites of the apple, more weird stuff, and instead it's just a very competent game made by professionals. Great. John, you're next. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Super Mario Kart World. Obviously talked about it at length, but enjoyed it. It's really, it's expansive. What can you say about it? It's obviously high quality. I really liked it just in terms of, the way that they've expanded out. I think it's perfect? Not really, but, for what it is, I think it was the next step, the next logical kind of evolution with Mario Kart. And I think for the most part, they hit it out of the park, and, definitely we'll be playing it for years to come, but not going to really dig too much into it because we've already gone into it in detail. But yeah, Super Mario Kart World.
Cool. We got time.
Yeah.
So if you got thoughts, feel free.
I'm kind of with Guy sort of on the stunt stuff. I think some of the things that I didn't like about it was I always felt like it was very difficult. It was very easy, I will say. It was, to flip that around, I think it was very easy to kind of say, I want to go over there, and you make one false move, especially when you're up in the clouds and in some of the aerial levels, you're falling down a long, long way. And you really have to figure out how to get back up there sometimes. So I just feel like sometimes that gets in the way of really the open world stuff that they obviously kind of hinge the entire gameplay on. Obviously a huge variety of things to do. I think some of the kind of side quests where you're collecting this and that, that probably I think could have been more interesting. But still, it's a heck of a package for any Mario Kart fan. I think you can't really go wrong with it. There's just so much there, and so many tracks and so much stuff to explore in that game. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Cool. All right, Greg, what is your number 4?
3, yes.
3.
We must never forget.
I literally have the order and the numbers in front of me, and I've gotten it wrong on the last 3. And I
tried to make it easy both on myself and others, with Metroid Prime 4 being number 4. You may as well take that when they're as bunched up as closely as these are. But my number 3, I'll confidently say, is the most obscure game on the list, or indeed among the honourable mentions. This is Night Striker Gear, which is a sort of kind of one of those weird M2 complement games, like we already mentioned, Haunted Castle, in that Castlevania Dominus collection, or indeed Salamander 3 in the Gradius Origins collection from last year. But this was also released separately. So basically there was a kind of a bit of a weirdo collection in itself called Operation Night Strikers, which compiled a bunch of games that were kind of shooting gallery games, Operation Wolf and similar games, but also Night Striker, which from Taito quite different from those, because that was basically more of a Space Harrier kind of take, an on-rail shoot 'em up, but kind of in a vehicle rather than just a guy floating around. But very definitely not a shooting gallery kind of game either, But I guess when you're trying to put retro compilations together, sometimes it makes for strange bedfellows, and in this case it did. But also we had this Night Striker Gear, basically okay, let's do kind of a new one at the same time as the original Night Striker is being collected up with these shooting gallery games. And I really, really like this, even though it's probably even less substantial than Eartheon, it's in some ways it seems like it's less substantial than the original Night Striker arcade game, because
really?
Well, just in terms of like the number of basically, it's Taito, right? So if you know Taito from Darius, you might consider the way that they like that structure where the levels kind of fan out, on a kind of decision tree sort of scenario. And there's definitely more sort of, or you think of it like Outrun a little bit. Yeah, in that way, which of course you get, this is kind of like Taito mashing up Outrun and Space Harrier, when they did the original Night Striker game. And so, the original Night Striker game has more possibilities, at least, in terms of how many different final stages you can reach. But here, it's quite limited, but it's just, for me, I assumed such games exist, and I've just not necessarily been all that cognizant of them. But for me, this is a really rare case of like, okay, we've got a super scaler type, which is, that's what Sega called their sprite scaling tech when they were doing Space Harrier and Hang On and Outrun and all those games from the kind of mid to late 80s. A super scaler style on-rail shooter, but with really high quality kind of modern sprites, because obviously that tech went out of style pretty quickly, right? It was something that was, the best approximation, I guess, people could do of that, sort of 3D space, imitating things moving about in 3D space pre-polygonal graphics. And of course, Sega themselves, right? In the early 90s, you get to the Model 1 board, we get Virtual Racing and, latterly Virtual Fighter and all that, you get to like Daytona and Sega Rally, all that stuff. It goes polygonal, that's the future. And this, of course, is something that's mostly left behind in the arcades. You did have a bit of a sort of life, of course, on Super Nintendo with its sprite scaling effects, for games like F-Zero and so on. But it became a bit of a relic of the past. And here, it's like, okay, a little bit like, the game that Guillaume mentioned I spoke about last year, the Shadow of the Ninja, Tengo Project kind of, revival, where it's like, well, we go back to something and really do really, high quality sprite work for it. And like I said, whereas with side-scrolling games of that nature, that's something that seems to happen all the time. In this case, it's just, for me, it was really, really cool to see a game, doing all those tricks, but doing them with this kind of sprite work that's very, very nicely kind of rendered, you know what I mean? Like the kind of ability to invoke that kind of cyberpunky kind of aesthetic, that was very popular around about the time that the original Night Striker came out, but with this greater fidelity, I think is really cool. And then just in terms of the game design, like it's straightforward, it's simple, but it's all kind of, executed very well. I'll also note that it has, and I'm not sure if this is something that was done in the original Night Striker or other on-rail shooter, but it has a scoring mechanic, sort of device that I can recall seeing most recently, which is not recently at all, in the second Sin and Punishment game, which is where you can fly around, where you're in this vehicle, but it can fly. But basically you get more points if you stay on the ground. Every moment you stay on the ground, you get the score racks up higher. And they did the exact same thing in Sin and Punishment 2, which of course was a divergence from the first game. First game, you were essentially rooted to the spot, right? And you had to jump. Whereas in the second game, they said, well, no, you kind of make it more like Space Harrier. You can float around. But if you stay on the ground, you will get more points. And so I always like that idea of like, okay, basically you're supposed to try and stay on the ground as much as possible, and it kind of creates this risk reward element of like, well, that gives you less real estate to dodge about. And it's like, when do you decide to bail and, go into the air and sort of, try and, just stay alive that way before and deciding it's safe to kind of go back in the box and go back on the floor and rack up more points again. I always thought that was cool, and it's well deployed here. And, yes.
It was in the original game, by the way, I can confirm. I have the collection and,
yeah. So the original Night Striker had the same, kind of device. It makes sense, right? It always was like a logical kind of scoring mechanism, I think, just kind of, to have that like risk reward element, for people who are really trying to rack up scores, they kind of have to put themselves in more danger. It's just, it doesn't surprise me that the original game had it. So a cool idea implemented, well in this game. And what they do, there's not that many unique stage themes. So some of them might get, you've got a relatively small, like, tree of levels, and then, some of those will be like alternate versions of each other. But you've got these sort of, 4 unique, like, termination points, and then if you really, really snappy to run through. And then when you run through the 4 and see the 4 sort of bosses there, it opens up a kind of 5th and final level to truly beat the game. So they're stringing it out a little bit, I guess, but it's also fast. I really don't mind. I quite enjoyed just coming back to get another route done every now and again and see all of it eventually. And then you get the reward for that is kind of, you can play, I think they call it the B-side mode, where it just strings everything together in one big long kind of streak if you want to do that. So a very kind of a modest package, but I think really, really well executed. And, for people like me who really like this kind of game, and there's not that many of them, it was really satisfying to see.
Guillaume, what is the third?
Yeah, my third game, which could have been my fourth, but then I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I was like more impressed by it. My third game is Absalom. The roguelike beat 'em up by Guard Crush Games, my beloved Guard Crush Games, who made Streets of Rage 4, which is like the game of the forever, or at least probably the game of the Switch for me. But here, so this is their another beat 'em up from them. So of course, mechanically, like, it's very satisfying. It's a ton of fun to play. And then there's the roguelike aspect, which, I thought was maybe inspired by Hades, but they've cited Dead Cells as their inspiration, coupled with games like Dungeons and Dragons, Shadow over Mystara, and Golden Axe. So, like, I guess they were looking at older games for their inspiration for the setting, which is more medieval. You play as you can play as a dwarf, you can play as, like, magic user, a cool assassin. They don't have the Conan stand-in that Golden Axe has. They tried to make, like, create their own little, fantasy world that's not a one-to-one match with, like, the usual Tolkien stuff. So I guess the reason why it's not higher on the list is because maybe of those roguelike elements. I'm not sure. I recognize that it's a valid design decision in games like Hades or Dead Cells or this game to make it basically impossible for the player to finish it the first time that they play it. But it still feels a little bit kind of cheap, like we're talking about ways to extend the games that are maybe slight. That's a problem. Like, there's a lot of content in this game. So in a way, I feel like having the people replay the game over and over again to just have a chance to level up enough to be able to finish it. It kind of diminishes the game a little bit. But at the same time, it does provide some way, way like an opportunity to do some cool things. Because in this game, you're basically brought back to life by your god who's at war with other gods in this realm, and so you are always, there's like a continuity, like you go beat up the wood gremlins or whatever. Well, they're gonna be there next time, the goblins, and they're gonna remember that you beat them up, and maybe this time, like, they won't open their doors to you so quickly. Maybe you'll face new opposition. Maybe there will be a new quest that you can find there, because yes, there are quests sometimes. You can find people who will give you, ask you to find something for them, and you realize through the game, like, you progress linearly through the levels. And sometimes you can select between, like, a few paths. And yeah, you'll realize that someone gives you a quest, and the thing that you can get is earlier. So you're necessarily going to have to either finish the game or die before you can go to that place and have a chance to go get the thing that they're asking you for. So, like, they do try to mix up things and to give you a reason to replay it more than just like, well, go ahead, accumulate XP and make your character stronger to, like there's more, like there are story reasons, there are like quests, there are like, little cool things to discover that they put in there. So yeah, it's fairly well done in that way. In a way, like Hades again was basically the same, right? And yeah, like the fighting is great. It's a little bit different from Streets of Rage 4 because it's a roguelike, so you do get to choose between, they often give you 2 or 3 options of like, what next move do you want to unlock? And so yes, like maybe you picked Carl the dwarf because you wanted to play as a grappler, and he's the one who's going to become the grappler if you get the opportunity. But sometimes, like, you'll have to build a different build with him, and you'll have to make do with that, and maybe like try to shift your strategy to be able to get anywhere. So the game does keep you, you will have to vary up your strategy. You can't just always be doing the same thing because the randomness of the game demands that, like you'll probably never have the exact same build twice. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's super satisfying. I sometimes, like, you luck into just the right build, or like you didn't know exactly what you were working towards, but then like you increase your character's power just enough so that all of a sudden, like your punches just send the opponents flying across the screen and just bouncing several times, against the edges of the screen and doing damage to every enemy that they hit in their way. And like, it feels incredibly powerful, incredibly satisfying. You kind of feel like, oh shit, I've broken the game. But of course, like that's not quite the case. And the game remains tough until the very, very end when you've upgraded your characters fully. Anyway, like I'm kind of rambling here, but like, it's an excellent, co-op experience, an excellent brawler, and a very good roguelike in its own right. So I'd say, like, if you're a fan of any of those genres, like, go for it.
Cool. All right. My number... we'll do my number 3, and then we'll take a break. My number 3 is Once Upon a Katamari. So we talked about this a few weeks ago, about a month ago. This is my first experience with the franchise, which definitely contributed to my enjoyment of this game. This is also a game that I got to play with the girlfriend extensively, which definitely helps. There is shit in this game if you are trying to do everything, which we did do. that will frustrate you eventually, and having a person to hand it to where you can just smile and say, this is your problem now, definitely positively contributes to the experience, because oftentimes they've been giving you unhelpful advice, and I was guilty of this too, that will not solve the question of how the fuck do I get up there to get that crown. And now it's like, all right, you got theories? You try them out, Chief. I'm sick of it. And as a consequence, like, it was an extra degree of interactive beyond just the game itself. It's the opportunity to kind of like make that into its own little social experience, because it's not a multiplayer game; it's a single player game. But it's still like the person who is sitting there with you is at least 60% as engaged in the play activity as you are, mostly because the game doesn't really ask that much of you as a player. It's more just how do you make it do the thing you want it to do. Also, this is the game that gave us Clip Clop, and I fully endorse Clip Clop. I feel like that is the idea of a prince that's actually two princes or cousins in a horse costume, and the king is quite possibly too stupid to recognize that that is not a single entity, but is in fact two unique people, is excellent. However, this game also gave us, I can't remember the name of the other one, but it's an actual centaur. And it's deeply alarming because it has cousin legs instead of horse legs. So it's just a long tube with two cousin legs sticking out of it. I did not like that. Did not like that at all. But yeah, this game is creative and ridiculous, and everything that you expect this franchise to be. I understand people have had issues with where this franchise has been in the more recent past. But this game, like, maybe I'm missing the finer nuance of that has been not present in the series for fans of it. But to me, at this point, this game feels like it is extremely good, and is like well made. Kenta is the centaur with human legs. I don't like Kenta. Kenta is bad. Do not with Kenta. So yeah, this game's just a lot of fucking fun, and having somebody to play it with definitely amplified that experience. So I'm glad she compelled me to buy it, and that we spent, this is kind of sad. We decided not to go out New Year's Eve because it was cold as shit. And we played it for a while that night, and it was just a fun way to do stuff that night. Just to hang out, and I can't remember if we had drank that or not, and just like try to get all the stupid crowns in the Western level, because it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Yeah. One of them is a friggin' nightmare. And all the ones where you have to make the samurai fat. Did not enjoy those. Those were bad. But we did it. I think I got the last thing like right after she left, like the day later, and I got the last crown. I was like, it's done. Put this game away. But you can make your own cousin. So that's fun. I made a horrifying Clip Clop. So that is what I play. All right, we are going to take a break here because we are at an hour. And when we come back, we're going to finish up our list. So please stay tuned. We are back with more of the conclusion of our top 5 games of 2025. And John, I need you to tell me, what is your number 2 game of 2025?
Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Very tough not to put this one in the top spot. I have a feeling it's probably your number 1, James.
Could be. I mean, there's 2 left that the audience should be able to guess both of them at this point.
Yeah. But, I mean, what is there to say about this? I mean, just an incredible game.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, well, some of this stuff, I mean, like, these are, like, as you get higher up the list, they're the stuff that we've just talked about ad nauseum, right? Because there's such huge
and this
games.
Game in particular, because yes. I'm pretty sure you and I both gave it number 1 like 10 years ago.
It's so good. I mean, this game is just so amazing, and, you know, it's like I haven't even gotten that far into this again. I mean, but I did just pick up the Switch 2 upgrade, So I'm definitely going to. This one's on my list. I want to get this done this year, along with a couple other ones. Oblivion. But which I did actually pick up. I didn't have a chance to mention that, but Oblivion Watch is officially on, because I did get remastered just a couple days ago. But yeah, so this along with Oblivion Remastered, I'm definitely going to go through this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Switch 2 does in order to upgrade the visuals for this one. Really looking forward to seeing it at 60 frames. That's going to be pretty sweet. And I mean, this game, it's just hilariously dumb in spots, but also is the type of game where the world itself is one of the best realized worlds. I mean, there's a lot of open world games out there. There's tons of them, but I feel like this one is the game where I've wanted to explore the open world more than anyone, and it's interesting playing through the first parts, actually. Like, speaking of Oblivion, like just playing through the very early part of that game and kind of walking around and stuff like that is great. But this game, more than anything, makes you feel like you're on an alien world.
Oh,
really.
Yeah.
I mean, even after playing stuff like Starfield and No Man's Sky and all that kind of stuff, this game is very unique in the sense that it's just the scope and scale of the world that you're looking at. It really feels alien, and it locks things off in a very sensible way. So you may look at something floating in the sky, some floating rock formation, and through the entire game sort of doubt that you can ever get there. Like, you think, oh, well, that's just up there for show. But nothing in this game is for show, because I remember playing through it the first time and just thinking that there's no way that can actually be a place that I can access. I mean, sure, any game I'd ever played up to that point, even if it was, open world, it had always been, this is there, but it's not really something you can access. But this game really just blew that out of the water, and the different zones all look beautiful.
It is impressive in how it manages scale.
It's just, yeah, and I keep saying this, I've never really played a game like it in that respect, where it makes you feel small in a huge world. In most games, open world games, they're big, but they're flat. They don't have that scale and that kind of vertical sort of dynamism that this game has. And I haven't played anything like it since. So, yeah, very hard not to put this at number 2. But yeah, just a great game. And I look forward to actually digging into it and really playing through it.
I'm very interested in how you react to Chapter 13.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I will say.
Yeah, I mean, I played through this whole thing. The first time through. So.
Yep. So it's that new chapter at the end.
Mm-hmm.
How's it popping? Greg, How's it popping? What's your number 2?
Well, number 2 is going to be Mario Kart World. So again, I've covered quite a lot, so I'll probably try and keep it brief. I would just say, I certainly did sort of take to messing about in the open, kind of free roam play, maybe more than some other people. I'm up to 370 of the P-Switch missions. I still haven't got them all. I don't think it's above 400, so I must be close. And I'm not necessarily, even though, one of the things they have added, is the map where, you can sort of quick warp to any P mission you've actually already done. And that means you can see, all the areas where you have found one, and it kind of gives you some ideas about where, that you might have missed an area, that you might not have explored as much, and that's helped kind of close some of those gaps. But yeah, I think you're probably up to the point where I would have to consult a guide or something to actually, kind of track down the last few. But, and quite a few more of the medals, I think, relatively are missing, because those obviously are not as conspicuous by design, when you're on the field, they're not the big blue lit up switches. But the fact is, I think it's quite an interesting choice for something not just from Nintendo themselves, And very often, the sort of charge, that's leveled at Nintendo is that they're this too quick to, be, very kind of handholdy or this sort of thing. And of course, you've seen them kind of push against that in certain series like, Zelda, with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of going to a place that's a much more open and allowing of like player creativity than where the series had left off with Skyward Sword. But certainly in other places and something as mainstream as Mario Kart, the Mario Kart franchise, I think it's quite an interesting choice to just kind of say, well, there's all these challenges out there that kind of in a quite a significant way would help train you to show what's possible with the new the stunts and tricks that Guillaume already mentioned. But you're just going to have to find it. You're just going to have to go out there your own sort of initiative and find these switches and some of them are kind of as we said, there are many of them, nearly 400 or whatever, are just kind of something or nothing. But equally, you've got some that are, much more difficult. And then and just as the sort of the sum total of them, it's getting you to think about, what is possible with the new kind of, forms of like locomotion, I guess you could say, that are included in Mario Kart World. And so, I think that's a cool choice. I think it's nice that it just kind of leaves it to players to find it for themselves and to like delve into it as much as they
kind of the shrines and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, there's definite overlap with that, and like I said, I think it's like an even more interesting choice to bring that into something like a Mario Kart game rather than Zelda. But I do think there's a couple of things that go along with that. One of them is probably, some people who might have enjoyed this stuff engaging with it and just haven't, or certainly haven't engaged with it nearly as much as they might have done because it is so hands-off. And that I'm sure there's plenty of people who just perhaps wouldn't have engaged with anyway. It's not necessarily what they're looking for from Mario Kart, but they're more just interested in, racing and they're cool. They brought things to the table there. With the higher number of players and the knockout tour format and stuff, and just some of the entirely novel tracks and things. So it's not as if there wasn't more in that more kind of obvious like vein that Mario Kart World brought to the table. But for me, that was probably the biggest thing because Mario Kart single player endeavors have been pretty like moribund for a while. Probably, the DS game had the missions and, the Wii game kind of had like successors to the missions with some online events. But since then, obviously online multiplayer, from the DS game had it, but it was very limited. Wii game, kind of had a much more substantial online mode, and that's kind of taken a lot of the emphasis of providing the lasting appeal of Mario Kart games since that time. And this obviously has that. It's a big part of it, playing with more players simultaneously online than ever before in different formats with the knockout stuff. But this, I feel, was actually quite successful in providing, some rewarding single player kind of content for it without, in any way kind of forcing it on players by like making it unlock a lot of stuff or whatever. I do think there's just some really simple stuff here that it wouldn't have been too kind of overbearing or whatever to maybe make it a little bit more appealing or just to get people to engage with it. Like I've mentioned before, just like that kind of sticker album that you get for kind of you acquire all these stickers for doing things, but it just sort of amass in the order that you achieve them, rather than like, okay, look, maybe we could have like an actual album and fill in, specific sections and, have that kind of draw people's attention to particular kind of challenges and maybe suggest somewhere they could go to look for a particular challenge even, and want to fill in all these different, kind of stickers, organized by category or something. Just a little bit of structure, a little bit of breadcrumbing, something, I think could have gone a long way. I think it's a legitimate criticism. And there were some other things, I think, it was a bit unbalanced, the fact that, it was kind of so difficult to get, sort of traditional lap races, playing in the sort of casual, like, online lobbies, initially, because, it kind of was sticking so much to the, like, okay, you are in this particular spot on the map, so the next race you can go to, you've got to physically drive there in a, interstitial sort of, route and all that, kind of, which again, I think those are interesting as having different kinds of courses, and it, increases the number of unique combinations of, like, different kind of courses that you can get. But sometimes you just, you like to play a 3-lap race, and, they didn't sort of make that very easy. And you sort of sometimes got trapped in going in circles in that, playing online in the map and stuff. So the fact that they came around later and sort of said, okay, we'll put more in the sort of rotation where it's a location that is on the other side of the map, and therefore we're not going to do the interstitial thing, and you'll just start there and you'll do your laps around it, I think was, just, was a huge deal for about it. Some people apparently were very upset about it. For me, it was just like, yeah, I would like to see that in the mix more. And eventually they kind of got there. But in a lot of ways, I think, this, it's kind of, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where it ended up, especially with the booster course pass, was so sort of, kind of ticked pretty much every box on this kind of maximalist, kind of scale of just like, we've got so many tracks from the series history, so many characters and all this kind of stuff. Like, what do you do? After that, it's a kind of a similar problem that what will face Smash Brothers one day, when they, try and pick up with it after Ultimate. And so what they sort of hit upon here, I think, was pretty satisfying, and I've certainly enjoyed it. And yeah, I would sort of second what Guillaume said in the sense that, I look forward to there being, as we must assume there will be, considering just how many people have already bought this and will continue buying it. There's going to be a market for DLC, additional content, and, I think that'll probably, kind of get me to go back to it at this, having kind of hit a little bit of a wall, like I said, with finding, things in the open world and all that now. At the moment, it's just kind of been every now and again dropping in online and kind of getting a few games in, but, I look forward to the point where they can expand it out. Hopefully, I hope there's a room for some 200cc something, because I did love the stupid speed of that back in Mario Kart 8, but yeah, whether that's really compatible with
400cc.
Is that really compatible with the kind of tricks focused, kind of driving in this? I'm not sure. I'd love to see them try.
I hear your concern, but I challenge you that it wasn't compatible with many of the tracks in Mario Kart 8 either, and that
was what felt so great about it. It felt like playing something from like debug mode, didn't it? And that was what was fun.
They did not give a fuck then. I don't know what makes you think they'll give a fuck now. Guillaume.
Yeah.
Give us your the second.
My second game of the year is Shinobi Art of Vengeance, a game where you can be a ninja and flip out and kill everyone.
It's me after an RFN recording.
This is a very beautifully, hand-drawn game. Why is it my number 2? I guess it just something clicked, and it just plays so smoothly. I did not feel that way when I first tried the demo, but eventually I started to understand what it wanted from me, and it just became almost addictive. you explore these big stages. There's a lot of secrets to find. It almost looks Metroidvania-ish, except that it's discrete levels, and it's more like, okay, you find the the power up somewhere in this level, and then like maybe later you'll be able to go back to a previous level and destroy this wall here that was in the way before. There's not much like it's not even though like it tries to add exploration to the game, that's not really what the main gameplay is. The main gameplay is a lot of platforming, sometimes very precision platforming, but the controls feel smooth enough that even though like I was dying over and over again in segments, like I always felt like it was fair and mostly my fault and not the game's that I was dying. And the victory was always like achievement was always within my grasp. Like it always felt like I have the tools to make it past this platforming section. I can do this. And the combat, which is pretty simple, but it works beautifully. It kind of reminds me of in a way like it's kind of a 2D take on like Doom 2016. Like people were like, oh, that's so cool. Like the way that you finish enemies gives you health or ammo. Like it gives you the stuff that you need. Well, in this game, you can just swing your sword 3-4 times at an enemy and kill it. But what the game wants you to do is to try to get the most enemies on screen possible just on the verge of dying, using your kunai or using your sword. Some enemies have armor, so you have to get rid of their armor because you can whittle down their health. And eventually, when all enemies have this mark that signals that they can be taken out with like a super ninja flipping out move, then you do your super ninja flipping out move, and automatically the shinobi just goes all over the screen and kills all the enemies, and blood gushing out, but mostly health gushing out, coins gushing out, and kunai recharges gushing out, and that is extremely satisfying. So yeah, like the gameplay in this game really clicked. I don't think I really cared for the story all that much, and there's a lot of it, but it's mostly skippable. So I'm not gonna hold it against it. Like, but I think that it could have used less story than it had, to be honest. Like they have a lot of exposition and a lot of explaining why you're going after the MacGuffin that you're going after, and it's like, well, this is not super interesting. So I guess like if you have to find like a flaw in this game, it's that it probably over-explains itself. And this is, kind of an action exploration game, but focus on action, and that's what you're there for. And if that's what you're there for, then this game really provides. So, yeah, fantastic game, plays great, and highly recommended.
We paid for the whole seat, but we only want to use the edge, is what you were saying.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. My number 2 is, so I noted that audience members should be able to figure out what my 1 and 2 are in what order. So I kind of am spoiling my number 1 by giving my number 2. But my number 2 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I really enjoyed this game. So I actually was happy that the timing on this was fortuitous. I did the most recent challenge for the Emerald Rush mode. This is the February one. I think it's up now. I think it's over now, rather. And what it asks you to do is in the ostrich lair. I can't remember what it's like, forest lair. You have to collect a bunch of emeralds, which is normal. But the trick on this one is the multiplier is on the munch. I can't remember what they're called. The ones that have worms that come out of a hole.
It's like munchoids.
Munchoids,
they're all something
oids,
but yeah. They're just like sort of little snake type enemies, you know. They emerge, they extend out of like a kind of base, and you know, a lot of you might see them like a lot of the time in some of the kind of underground kind of parts and things. But yeah, there's always been quite a few of them.
Yeah, well,
in the muck, like
in the muck, and then on the top of the plateau on the middle part of it. I think it's like 802. And so I thought it was very easy. If you don't know the Emerald Rush challenges, you only get a very limited number of power-ups popping up. And that's sort of their hint for how you can get this multiplier where you need it to be. And they were all around the bird transformation, the ostrich transformation. So if you didn't get the ostrich transformation right out of the gate, you're effed. But it's right in front of you, so that's a you problem. And you get multipliers for killing enemies while you're in the air. You get multipliers for flying. You get multipliers for dropping egg bombs. And you get multipliers for killing things with egg bombs. So the game's really telling you, hey, you should be gliding and dropping bombs on things. This is really strongly hinting you should be doing that. And there's a multiplier in it for killing the munchoids. And I thought to myself, this will be easy. I know where there are multiple sets of munchoids, and munchoids respawn. I've got you, game. It took me 2 hours. And the reason is there's a secret mechanic in this game where if you kill the same enemy over and over again in Emerald Rush mode, the multiplier starts to drop precipitously. And so what you have to do is understand where all the munchoids are in this stage and go farm them in sequence, but only farm enough. Like, try to get through only killing one of them ever to get you through stage like 8, and then spend all your time building power-ups. So like stage 1 through 4 are just like, I just need to survive and get power-ups. Stage 5, you kill one to get enough that you can then grind out, just get, like, don't even try to get any emeralds, just get power-ups. And then finally in 8 and 9, you go do the sweeps through all the munchoids, if you remember where they all are. And that maximizes your output. And that's how you get it. And it's like, that's way more tactics than I expected from this. But I shouldn't have, because last month was about the friggin' turnips and understanding how to maximize your output from turnips. It's interesting they built a game that can be this mechanically diverse. It's what I like about this, that we were having a conversation in the Discord about Sunshine, which, God. But one of the things about Sunshine is there's lots of places that are hard to get to, but the game doesn't really give you any kind of handhold once you get there. So, the bay, Noki Noki Bay is a good example with the big scaffolding you have to climb in the middle of it. Or that's the harbor. And in that scaffolding, if you fall off, guess what? You get to swim to shore, which will take forever. And then you get to do it all over again. And if another challenge asks you to go up there, guess what? You get to climb up there again. Donkey Kong has some of that, where like the verticality is the challenge. But generally speaking, once you conquer it, you've conquered it. Now there's a warp up there, or you get an upgrade that makes it easy, or you change the level in such a way that the thing that made it a pain in the ass, be it like spikes on a surface or whatever, is no longer a thing, and you can just go there. And Emerald Rush forces you to re-examine how you navigate some of those areas, because sometimes places that you could get to before, because of upgrades it knew you had, you don't have anymore, because Emerald Rush resets you back to 0, and now you have to figure out how to get there without the power-ups that you had previously.
And you do have fast travel, but it's finite,
right? Yeah.
So and I don't think they let you upgrade it. That in your typical Emerald Rush, that'll be a perk, right? It's like, we'll get more warp cannons. Whereas in that one, it's 1 per round, and I don't think you were ever going to be able to upgrade it.
But they're pretty rare. They're pretty rare ones that cycle through. So like the round.
Yeah, I didn't get that much time in with this one. I didn't realize. I forgot about it until it was quite late. So I got a few goes in, but. And then wasn't able to come back to it, so I never saw a warp cannon upgrade in that time.
I think I only saw it once out of the 7 or 8 runs I did, or twice, and then the fucking fossil radar one just refused to pop it finally popped on the run. I was successful, which is good because it makes hunting for things a lot easier. But yeah, it was just bad luck. Just bad luck on the random generator. But I'm talking about the DLC mode here. I haven't even talked about the main fucking game. And that's the thing. They built a game with mechanics that made me like a roguelike. And I don't like roguelike, so that's saying something. But they built this game that just feels good to play. It feels so good to play that I have found every single collectible in this game. I have unlocked every single thing in Emerald Rush. And in the Emerald Rush challenges, I have cleared all of them. Like, this game just feels really good. And then that doesn't deal with any of the stage design, which is mostly good. There's a couple stages that are a little bit dodgy. I would say the forest layer is one of them that's a little dodgy. But they're all incredibly creative. All of the layers are amazing. And they have neat ideas and fun visuals and, just kind of the culture they create in every layer is really interesting and funny and unique. Even the racing layer, which sucks, is still weird and goofy. But then you have I really enjoy this DK Pauline combo. They're a lot of fun together. I enjoy the power-ups you get. I enjoy building a better DK, as it were. This is just a really well-made... I mean, granted, it's from the team that made Odyssey. Yeah, we expect this of them. And they delivered with the character that isn't about platforming. It's about breaking shit. And there's something really satisfying about getting stronger at breaking shit. Yeah, you can climb, but what if you just punched instead? I really appreciate that. It meant that a lot of the challenges... I know there are people who didn't like all the shines in Odyssey, but ultimately, or the moons, but ultimately, who cares? Just don't get them then. But in this one, it's even more, immaterial because many of the platforming challenges they want you to crack or the puzzles they want you to solve, you can just punch your way through instead. And I really like that. I just oh God, I don't know how to get to this banana. What if I just punch? And the game's what if you just punch? And I did. I punch and I'm in and I get the thing. It's a great looking game that's using the Switch 2 well. It plays like a dream. There's a ton of challenges that are a lot of fun to do. There's some that aren't as much fun, but the balance is tilts very hard in the positive direction. And the DLC is great. I like the new characters. I like the new worlds. I like all of it. So yeah, this is a really fun game. And if you haven't played it, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're listening to a Nintendo podcast. What are you doing? Maybe you don't own a Switch 2 yet. All right, I take it back. Maybe you don't own a Switch 2 yet. I get that. They're expensive. That's fine. If you own a Switch 2 and haven't played this, no, I reiterate my what the fuck is wrong with you. Just do it. Just do it. What are you waiting for? This is really, really good. This is really good. And I enjoyed it pretty much every minute I spent with it, with the exception of the last Emerald Rush challenge. There was, like I said, I realized it was due with 2 days left, and it took me 2 hours to clear it. So, there were some runs I did not enjoy very much. But I should have recognized these were going to be bad runs and abandoned them. If Nintendo, if you're listening, which you're not, please make it so I can just restart an Emerald Rush challenge so I don't have to quit, come back in, go, just reset. Please. It'll save me so much time. But yeah, that's my number 2. It's great. It's great. Best. Do I want to say this? Yeah, I do want to say this. Best DK game. And there's no caveat on that. It's not best DK game. That is blah, blah, blah.
I can see that. This is the one where I feel like, I mean, this, I think what it was it IGN that gave this a 10 out of 10? I think.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that.
I am so curious about this game, but I am also 100% convinced that I would play it and be like, okay, it's cool, but I wouldn't fall in love with it,
Maybe.
But I felt like that with Odyssey, for example. Well, Odyssey's obviously a fantastic game, but
yeah,
it's just the platforming for platforming's sake. It's not my thing anymore. I wish it was, but it's
there's
just
less of
not.
that though.
Yeah. So, but
there is.
That's why this intrigues me.
You get to break shit all the time.
Yeah, so I should probably give this a shot at some point, because I think I would.
The boss battles are a little weak, but this team can't make boss battles to save their life. I don't get it. I don't get it. Make a good boss battle. Challenge impossible. Mm-hmm. I will say I feel like it's late enough now that I can spoil this. You get to fight Void again if you max out the Emerald Rush mode. And you fight him on the island. And it's just... like... The thing with the Void fight is he can go everywhere, but if the entire battle space is the DK Island, you just spend time trying to figure out where the boss is. It's so stupid. Boss just gone like, guys, couldn't you box him in with invisible walls or some shit? He's just gone. Where'd he go? I appreciate this game's sense of self is probably the best way of saying it. And I'm glad they didn't just make another Mario game. They could have. I'm sure it would have been great. But by doing this, they did something unique that they couldn't have done otherwise. Thumbs up. All right. So before we get to our number one games, we're going to do a little bit of honorable mentions. And for the sake of time, let's try to keep it to 2 to 3. We're going to kind of go through them pretty quick. So, Greg, what are your honorable mentions? Oh, excuse me, John. God damn it. It's literally in front of me, the order. John, what are your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions, I would say just a couple of the Switch 2 upgrades. I did at one point pick up Mario Party Jamboree. And so I've not been able to do any of the Switch 2 stuff. I don't have a camera yet, even though I will get one. So if anybody actually has any recommendations, because apparently, as much as I love the Piranha Plant camera, it's apparently trash.
It sucks. Yeah. It's like 720p, 30 frames per second. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just get the official one, John. Come on.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, so I will say that, been playing that a little bit. It's Mario Party, but it's pretty good. And I would say the other one would be Animal Crossing. With their upgrade, they brought me back to the game. And it's pretty cool. I've not done the same thing. I haven't really done any of the Switch 2 stuff yet. But yeah, those would be my 2 honorable mentions.
Nice. All right, now, Greg, what are your honorable mentions?
Yeah, well, again, I get the few I feel like I wish I had got to play because I feel like it's plausible I could have entered into the conversation. To get Shinobi, very much one of those. Silk Song, it would be another. Maybe even Nijigo and Ragebound. Loads of stuff I would have liked to get to, but I just didn't. But certainly a few things that, again, were very, very close to the games that I have listed that didn't quite make it. I would say Kirby Air Riders was really quite close because especially the single player I feel like was quite a lot more enjoyable than I was necessarily expecting out of that. I think, they did a really nice job of like stringing together different scenarios and again kind of showing you all the different kinds of things that can happen in this like weird, bit sort of action racing hybrid thing that Kirby Air Riders is. So yeah, that came close. I would also say, let's see, the one I really, really wanted to, mention here, but it's slipping my mind. But yeah, certainly, I think Kirby would be like effectively number 6. You know what I mean? Like if we'd gone that extra kind of game, that would have been it. I think Hyrule Warriors would be just behind that somewhere. I kind of, agree with a lot of what James said in terms of it felt a little bit safe, and I couldn't argue with how slick it was. It definitely felt like the slickest, Hyrule Warriors experience we've seen with the sort of technical, kind of, prowess, that it sort of achieved on Switch 2, but didn't, especially with this whole, canonicity thing, it didn't feel like it wanted to go too far or too odd, and also I guess it just felt like it couldn't risk being a Hyrule Warriors game that didn't have a Link analog at least as a major character. So it kind of crowbarred in the construct thing. So yeah, but I still I did very much enjoy it. Got plenty out of it.
Cool. Guillaume, what are your honorable mentions?
Yeah, so I think I'm the only idiot here who hasn't finished Metroid Prime yet. I traveled for the holidays. I probably thought, like, well, I got to play this on a big screen. I can't play it on the tiny, Switch 2 screen. So I'm going to save this for the big screen. And then, like, I just lost sight of it. I started playing something portably, and then I kept playing it even once I was back home. So, and then, yeah, one thing led to another. I still haven't finished it, but it's not... I enjoyed what I played. So eventually, probably, like, at this time next year, I'm going to say, like, well, Metroid Prime 4 should have been my, number whatever on my list. But right now, it's not on the list.
Fair.
The other thing that kind of slipped through the cracks is 2024's game that I didn't play in time to add it to my list. That's 1000 Times Resist. That came out in May 2024. Last year, I did not pick it as my game of 2024 because I was playing it while we were doing the top 5 of the year stuff. And I said back then, like, oh, it's really good. You need to play it. I just haven't played enough of it to put this on the list. Well, you know what? It definitely should have been on that fucking list. Like, there's no way that, most of those picks for 2024 hold a candle to 1000 Times Resist. So, again, I guess I'm going to call out 1000 Times Resist. It's a fantastic game, and you should play it. And, I guess that's mostly it. Like, I'm playing the 100 line right now. I'm not sure if it would, I'm still not at the big twist or whatever, but it's doubtful it would have made the list. Although it's very good. Kirby, the expansion was quite nice. I was afraid for a bit that it would end up on the list, but thankfully I found better picks.
Wow.
But no, but like, I mean, like, it's quite nice, and it did get me to replay Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and that was a really nice experience, but it's, a pretty slight
It's just how you worded
update.
it was very funny.
And yeah, that's mostly it.
Okay. I rolled around on this for a little bit. I'm gonna go with 2, I think. I'm gonna go... You know what? I'm gonna go with 3. Fuck it. In no particular order. Metroid Prime 4. So, again, I talked about this last, because I played it, well, not quite as last as Guillaume, but I played it after the other two had played it. And I basically first time I talked about it, I had played the whole thing. So I came in this weird state of like, I'm not giving you anything in flight. I have fully formed thoughts on it. And the game's fine. Like, I don't want to get back in my, like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Why are you freaking out about this game? It's fine. Tantrum. But, like, seriously, what the fuck? Game's fine. Game's good. It's just, it's not great. Like, it lost out to some weird stuff on my list, but that's okay. Stories from Soul, The Gun Dog. This is way back in the start of the year. This is like deeply 1980s anime, kind of like a PC-88 style adventure game. It's got some weird twist stuff at the end, but you don't really have any guidance on where it's going, so that kind of hurts it a little bit. And the fact that ultimately it's setting up other stuff for a sequel that we may never see is kind of a bummer. But like the degree to which it just committed to the bit of being a 1980s anime game on a PC-88, I really love. And it looks really good at being one of those things. And the characters we got, I liked. I just wish we got to see where it was going more than we did. And then the last one I'm going to go in here is get the fuck out, Mario Kart World. You might be the better game, but I want to talk to you about Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Is this a good game? No, it's a welcome tour. It's literally like an instruction guide for your Switch. Are all the mini games good? No, most of them aren't good. Most of them are just like, they're just there. They're teaching you to use the mouse controls. But at the same time, At the same time, I appreciated the package for what it was, the whole like museum vibe, the interacting with characters who are very excited to be on a giant Switch 2. Did you notice that these are the buttons from the face buttons? Did you know that they have digital press instead of analog, meaning when you press them, it's like, well, yeah, of course, they're fucking buttons. I know how buttons work. But there is something like weirdly captivating about that very odd package they launched with Switch 2. Completely unnecessary, completely bizarre way to introduce Switch 2's features. The fact that there's literally like museum guards that won't let you to areas of the museum that represent the hardware you don't have. This weird, like, we're gonna wrap it in the allegory of a museum. I just kind of appreciate how silly it all was, and the package they put together, and this incredibly Nintendo approach to introducing the features of this new piece of hardware. Was it a good approach? I cannot answer that question. Was it a worthwhile expenditure of $15? Again, this is a you question, not a me question. I got $15 out of it, I guess, shrug. But it's such a weird idea that I appreciate that it's there. I just do. I appreciate the weirdness of it all. All right, John, it's time. Give us your most grande game of 2025.
Most grande, I don't know, but Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is my number one. Just because, it was good. I think it did everything it had to do, and I agree with you. The whole thing around people wanting it to be like, I just expected more. It's like, man, it's a Metroid Prime game. I enjoyed it. I'd say probably the biggest downside was the hub was a little bit empty, like the kind of spoken hub model, like the middle map was just a little bit kind of perfunctory. I felt like it was there just to kind of blow out the game world a little bit. And they probably could have made it a little bit more streamlined by allowing you to just, fast travel between the different areas. But I liked it. I mean, I played that whole thing through. I played it, I went through the whole thing in about 2 weeks, made sure before I went back to Canada that I got through it. And yeah, I mean, outside of the final boss battle, which was just absolutely infuriating, for most of it, just a really, really solid entry. And I think it's okay for this game to feel like it's from 2014 or something like that, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, I still have a couple more things to do in it. I think I still probably have to get all the green crystals. But at no point did I feel like, all of the stuff about the characters, about, the whatever his name is, Miles, or whatever is a chatterbox and everything, that actually falls away as you play the game. I felt that was completely overblown. And it just shows really, this game is interesting because it also shows the reactionary nature of everything online nowadays, where I really wish that they actually wouldn't have even put out that early demo to the press, because that just started a complete shitstorm that wasn't even necessary. I felt like giving a preview to the press was actually the wrong thing to do, because everybody was saying, everybody was assuming that the whole game was going to be like that. They effectively played through the tutorial and thought the whole game was going to be like that. And there's like most of that game, you can't even talk to anybody back at home base. I thought the idea that you did have a home base was pretty cool. And also the fact that they did introduce these characters, and they had these characters. There was actually banter in between these characters. So you got to learn a little bit about their past, and how they came to be on Vuros, and all of that sort of stuff. And there's a couple things in there I could have done without, like having to, like the sniper guy, having to search him out randomly out in the open world for really no reason, to get just some power-ups that they could have given to you any other ways.
Bit more padding, it felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
There's the kind of customary to some extent, like a quest at the end before you're ready to go and fight the final boss. But it was like, well, no, we need more layers to it, because evidently they were even more conscious of the hour count, I think, which I'm perfectly. You could see everything in Night Striker gear in about, I don't even know, 15 minutes. I mean, I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff, you know. If I like it, it doesn't have to spend, you know, I have to spend ages with it. If it feels proportionate with the substance that's there, then, you know, I'd be fine with just leaving it at that. But that's the problem, you know, that they've been dealing with those kinds of games. And in, you know, when Zelda games are more similar to that, you know, pretty much back, you know, all through from the first Metroid Prime game, and like I said, with the Zelda games, all through the, you know, the aughts and the 2010s. So, you know, it's just, I guess it's not surprising they fell into that trap, but it still could have done without it.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, it's more Metroid Prime, and I'm perfectly okay with that, because I haven't seen any of this stuff since, 2007? I think that was the last
Wii launch. Yeah.
So I was perfectly okay with this being another Metroid Prime game. I thought they tried a couple of new things, and for the most part were successful. You know, having the bike to roll around on, I felt that was, at the same time, a little bit shoehorned just to have something new, but I also like the fact that they put it in there. The way that they introduce it is really cool. How you have to effectively build it was really neat and not something I expected. But yeah, overall, it's a really solid game, and it's my number one this year.
Cool. Greg, what is your number one?
Well, I would imagine people could guess what it is, although I did intentionally leave something out of the honourable mentions to kind of leave a little bit of a question, and that would be, the game I left out was Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, because I just thought it'd be easier to leave something out that I've played before that I didn't go back and check, but I'm pretty confident that would have been top that year, when it came out in 2015. I'm not sure.
I would think so. Not sure there wasn't a ton of competition.
If it wasn't that, if it wasn't number one, it must have been at least number two or something, because that was definitely one of the best experiences one could have playing games on Nintendo hardware in 2015. But yeah, I mean, that was a great experience, to be fair, playing it again now, because just off TV play was helpful a lot on Wii U and all that, but proper portable play here with actually had a pretty decent resolution for a change, for portable Xenoblade games, as we talked about just recently. I really, really enjoyed it, got through it relatively quickly for me for a game of that length, and it was great to see it all again, and then with some of the stuff, the new stuff sort of sprinkled in along the way before you get to the extra chapters and things. Great experience. But of course, as you might have guessed, the number one is Donkey Kong Bonanza for me. And like I said, that this had a little bit of separation from the others, because even though I would say, there's some elements of it where you kind of feel like this is not exactly aimed at like where I am, in terms of like, I think it emphasizes the pure play aspect of just, breaking things, tunneling through things, the fact that, the commitment that there is to be able to kind of achieve things in a different way or whatever, kind of way you feel like, or at times it kind of muddles maybe like certain challenges, how sort of specific they can be or how challenging they can be. And, there's definitely some aspect of my kind of play preferences over the years that would favour so there was a bit more rigidly structured or a bit more challenging. But on the other hand, I'm a tired old man these days, so sometimes the fact that it doesn't necessarily put up many frictions is actually very welcome. So, you kind of have to accept that. Actually, no, this does suit me rather well, and so I played it to exhaustion pretty much. I guess there's still some stuff I could do. I haven't completely exhausted the Emerald Rush the way James has, about like it's more than it's like halfway through the amount of kind of points they have to get to get the rewards, but that's like, you know, because it's not literally geometric, but it's like, you know what I mean? I've got most of the rewards, but I'm only halfway through the number of points it would take to get the last one. So yeah, I might get there eventually. I do like dipping into it here and there. Of course, the challenge mode, the challenge events do not count towards that, do they? They're
right, because you'll walk away with 1.5
no, exactly.
million.
You know, they are set, and as we mentioned, like they are narrower, right? Like they're essentially trying to funnel you into a very specific version of the Emerald Rush experience, right? To kind of, you know, get as a high score to get the statue rewards for that. Whereas again with Emerald Rush, even like in its regular form, there's this commitment to like you could kind of get high scores different ways, right? Obviously there's the random element, but then there's the discretionary element of like, what do you pick? What do you like to do? That kind of goes by the wayside a little bit with the challenge. So I understand kind of siloing it off, but it does feel a little bit sometimes like, I played that for quite a while, but that doesn't count towards, you know, any of the progress there, through the regular rewards board or whatever. But, the main game, I very, very thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a little bit sort of, again, skeptical of like, you know, can you have a character with this much sort of flexibility, mobility, you know, and destructive power and have something that, you know, still feels interesting and kind of, you know, can it funnel you in different directions? But I think they pulled it off just, you know, every time where maybe you felt like it could get a bit sort of tired, they introduced new gimmicks, I thought, that helped freshen it up in the stages. You know, the things like, you know, where you can grab a chunk of a material and just throw it and it like makes a huge trail of like a new platform, and you just kind of throw in stuff into the void, building ladders to go to different places and all that. They just have something like that you know, would freshen things up. And, you know, like I said, this real commitment to a pure play sort of philosophy that almost made it feel like boom blocks at times. You're just kind of seeing what, you know, you combine things and how they're going to, you know, how's it going to blow up? How's it going to sort of just react when you put these things together? That, I can only assume must be, you know, really great for smaller kids, but it's still, you know, pretty fun for the shambling husks of things pretending to be people like myself. So, you know, it was, yeah, really, really rewarding and well worth the top spot this past year, I think.
I've talked to Steven about this.
I did not expect the positive comparison to Boom Blocks here.
Well, it'll never have Boom Blocks as quality box art, so there's...
Yeah.
No.
Not especially sure. Bash Party was the one with the really hot box. Because it had like the Saturn style, like boom blocks down the spine, like next to the spine. It was really weird.
It's so stupid. Like, I believe artists should be protected to practice their craft, except for the person who made the Boombox Blast Parties. That person should be hunted. Guillaume, what is your number one?
Yeah, my number one is Once Upon a Katamari. I just really loved that game. I really enjoyed it. It puts a smile on my face. Sometimes that's you know, sometimes that's a lot. Yeah, sometimes. I
like that we've had two in a row where it's like it's hard to be happy, but this game makes me happy.
Well, yeah, this game makes me happy. You know, stellar music as usual. Just fun, colorful visuals. They don't do all that much that we haven't seen before in a Katamari game with the gameplay, but I think that the level designs make sense. You know, like you find your line. You know, like you find your optimal path to roll your ball and to just get bigger, and like eventually you kind of develop some sort of Katamari sense, right? Where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm just now I'm just big enough to go and collect those things over there that I couldn't that you know I would bounce off of before. The game is funny in so many ways, from you know the random shit that the the game designers put in there, like the visual gags all over the place. You'll go to like prehistory, you collect dinosaurs, but there's also like dinosaur fans hanging around, and when you roll them up, they go, "Dinosaur!" And that's exactly what dinosaur fans sound like in real life, at least. That's my new headcanon. There's like a tremendous amount of writing, and unlike other games that have tremendous amounts of writing, it's not boring. It's often very, funny and witty, and I fucking love the King of the Cosmos. He is funny as hell. I really like, like the weird, I don't know, attitude that he has, like, oh, like, cousin so-and-so, you were swimming in the sea. That sounds nice. Oh, you were, in a shootout with a cowboy. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know, like sometimes, anyway, like, trust me, the writing is good. I can't recall that verbatim.
He is disconnected from reality to such a degree, and so unwilling to accept fault for things that are clearly his fault, like everything going wrong, that it's like talking to an all-powerful child.
Yeah,
and they do a very good job of capturing that in a way that is amusing, but like a very fine line of, I just want to kick the king in the dick. Like, it never quite gets there, but it gets real close a couple times, which is a hard line to walk.
Well, that's one of the things about this game. Like, in the first few games, I think that they've sanded off a lot of the roughness there. Like, because like it was kind of shitty to fail a stage before in a Katamari game, because like he would really lay it into you, and like that's part of the story, like he was himself, like his dad had impossible expectations from him, and like that's kind of visited upon the prince, and so, but there's been growth, believe it or not, and now at this point in the series, like he's definitely he's not as I don't know how to say this, not fearsome, but like less shitty, I guess.
Mean-spirited.
He's less of a he's less of a shitty dad than he used to be. So that's good.
He's still a shitty dad, but less of one.
Well, he's not exemplary, for sure. And like, I don't know, I think that they executed very well on this idea, and like it's one more of these in many ways, but I don't see that as a problem. I guess I can always take more Katamari. Like, it's got some new stuff that it does that I haven't seen before, like kind of there's the pirate stage where there's this the squid that flees from you, and like if you catch it, and if you don't catch it, like there's like branching paths there, and like at some point in the level, either you're going to be pulled down under the sea by this giant octopus, or you're not, but you're going to be attacked by another pirate ship. And so like you're going to be able to collect different items, you're going to be able to go after different goals. So that was kind of neat. I wish that the game had done maybe a little bit more of that, but outside of that, like, perfectly executed. It's just it's almost impossible to be grumpy and play this. So that's probably the highest recommendation I can give it.
Unless you're grumpy at it, which it can do with those crown challenges.
Oh, well, the Antiquity maze level can go...
Oh, okay. No, you're right. That one gets you just clearing it. Yeah, fuck that level.
Yeah. I did eventually get everything in it, but god damn it.
It sucks. Yeah. Just the game would be better if they just patched that level out. If it just didn't replace anything, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
All right. my number one, obvious. It should be obvious at this point. What my number one is, hey, it's Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Who could have thunk it? I'm not going to go into too much detail on this one because one, I've now recorded a second spoiler cast about the same game. Greg and I did that back in December. This is my second time playing this 130 hour long game. I once again did everything, even though I've seen most of this content before. That includes the, we'll call it dance party at the water treatment plant that I desperately did not want to do. But I did it because it's content in the game, so I went and did it. I did all this. They made it much easier to make friends with the non-mainline party members, meaning doing their quest lines was much easier this time. I can't remember the name of the character that's super missable. You have to do all of her quests before you get a chance to unlock her.
The one that's always she's always
Mia.
turning up in the various different places, getting herself into trouble.
It's Mia. Yeah, I finally got her this time around, and then I got to the new content, which is spread throughout the game. I like one of the new characters, I can't remember her name now. The other alien, the alien princess, basically. Didn't really care for the other new characters. I mean, one of them's Gajarg. He's not new. They just made him playable. But the other new ones, eh. But I got to the infamous chapter 13. Game famously ends with no conclusion. In fact, it ends with more extra cliffhangers. We get resolution to all of those cliffhangers. I don't necessarily know that it stuck the landing. Some people really don't like Chapter 13. I'm a little bit more open to what it's doing, but I still feel like it kind of missed the boat a little bit, pun not intended. But I don't really care that much. It has a definitive ending, so that's something. They did things to expand the scope of the story that are curious and possibly ill-conceived, but they did them. And now we live in the world in which they have been done. And so I just sort of accept that those things have happened and then I'm going to have to potentially live with that in some future game. That's fine. But ultimately, the game's plot isn't really what keeps me going through this. It's the fact that John talked about it. They built a world of unprecedented scale back when it came out, and it still feels that way. You walk up to a cliffside, and even compared to Breath of the Wild, you look up at it and you're like, well, I'm not fucking getting up there. Crap. All right, what do we do? And you just sit there and go okay, well, I'm stuck in the valley. I can't get out of the valley, and no matter what, you have no idea what's going to be around that corner. It could be a giant 80-foot tall Gonzalez, which is a giant ape. And he's just going to one-shot you no matter how fast you try to run the fuck away. You're going to die. You're going to die. And there's nowhere to go because you're stuck in this stupid cliff face. Or you wander into Sylvalum and the music's all nice and cheery and you're like, oh, this isn't bad. I like this place. It's like a nice snow thing. It's not salt. And then nighttime comes. Oh, daytime is the crazy shit in Sylvalum. And suddenly a giant robot emerges from the ground and nukes you with the laser from 1,000 meters away. And it's well, fuck me, I guess. There is a sense of of place in that world where it's literally, okay, I need to get up on that cliff face, but there's a land bridge I have to cross. And on that land bridge are 2 level 50 jaguar looking things. I can't fight them. I cannot fight them. I am not strong enough. It will be a very long time. But the game, for story reasons, wants me to go there right now. How the fuck do I do that? And the solution is literally, go at night when they're asleep and be very fucking quiet and hope nothing wakes them up. It is a problem-solving exercise that most games don't ask you to do.
It repeatedly challenges you to solve the world.
Yeah, the world is the enemy in this game.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Mira's a character, and it's a temperamental, tempestuous character that sometimes just wants to reach down and smack you in the face. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing you can do about that. It's gonna hit you.
Yeah.
But sometimes...
it consistently tells you,
yeah.
there's something here that you want.
Right. But I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it to you, but I'm not necessarily going to prevent you from getting it outright based on some abstract structure within the game design.
Right. If you figure out how to do it, good job.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it when we talked about this game the first time I gave it Game of the Year. This is the second time I'm doing it now. Calderos. The continent that the game expects you to reach last. It is the least hospitable. It is the most dangerous. It has the most random shit flying in the air that's like level 99 that will just nuke you from space before you even see it. Also, it's covered in lava. So, like, there's nothing good happening in Calderos. You should not be there. You should not be there even in the end game. Calderos is a bad place. But they fully anticipated some absolute jackass is going to walk off the side of Primordia at the very beginning of the game, swim for like 20 minutes, and reach Calderos.
Yeah, but it's not stopping you from doing it either. You can do it.
No.
Be as dumb as you want. Do whatever you want.
And on the beach, there's like level 5 enemies because they know some asshole's going to try it.
Yes.
Now, when you kill those level 5 enemies, what happens? You walk off the beach. And then you're blown to pieces by a level 60 enemy. But you can do it. Game doesn't care. Have fun.
I would say it lets you window shop if you feel like it.
Yeah. And like there's this idea that the world feels relatively alive because of all the enemies in it. And the fact that like sometimes they're asleep, sometimes they're awake, sometimes they're not paying attention. Those giant gorillas, like, going past them when they're asleep is ideal. But sometimes, like, they'll just be literally scratching their ass, and you can just, like, sneak around them and not have to have a thing happen. But then you get the skells, and, like, the whole world changes, and all the interactions with the creatures in it change, and then you get super strong, and you start doing shit like trying to do infinite disc bombs so you can kill these event enemies that are 20 times stronger than anything in the game. It's ridiculous. And I cannot fathom that they took them this long to re-release this game. I cannot fathom that they didn't wait for the Switch 2 to come out to release it as a Switch 2 game. And I have issues with the ending. They're not as extreme as other people's, but it is baffling to me that this is a Wii U game still. Like, it looks so much better on Switch, but this is ultimately a Wii U game, and it's still doing things that I don't see elsewhere. Even the Zelda games that are obviously reading from its hymnal. And some of those things it's not doing, I totally get it. They're weird, and if you look at them from the outside, you're going to think, why the hell would you do it that way? But it is just a massive, impressive, constantly changing game where even the city you're in changes based on the quests you do. It feels alive in ways that very few games actually do, and I really appreciated that. Mira is a place, and you get to experience it, and you get to know it, and you become part of it. Like, what your party is doing is part of the calculation that is Mira. And that's pretty fucking cool. That is just pretty fucking cool. All right, that is going to do it for our top 5 of 2026. I don't really have much else to say on that. Email, send them, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That is rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I actually got a little worried for there that we had seen very little Metroid Prime. And I was like, boy, is it going to get blanked? By
the way, that was our top 5 of 2025. We are in 2026.
Nope, it's our top 5 of 2026. We're just going to do it. Yeah, yes, the top 5 of 2025.
I had it as my 4th game, James. That was early on.
You did. You did. No, you did. And for a while there, I was like, oh, is that going to be it? Is that the run? Is that its run? But yeah, like it's, I suspect that next year we're going to see a little bit more diversity because it looks like there's a lot of stuff coming out. So hopefully we'll have some fun lists for y'all next year. But in the interim, email, send them, rfn@10yearoldreport.com. But you can also send music you want to hear played at the end of the show, which Greg is responsible for selecting. So, Greg, would you do us that honor today?
Sure. Well, as we record this, I think we're only a matter of hours away from a Pokemon Presents to coincide with Pokemon Day, the 27th of February, the anniversary of the original Pokemon Red and Green games in Japan. And of course, this is the 30th anniversary, so they're making a bigger deal of it, than they ordinarily would. We've already had some stuff, with Leaf Green and Fire Red re-release, not as pretty predictably not just putting them on NSO, but instead having them as standalone purchases. Not a huge surprise there. Again, it will be somewhat similar to when they did the Virtual Console game, 10 years ago. The Virtual Console releases of Red, Blue and Yellow, were in America and Europe, and Red and Green in Japan back then. So not a huge surprise there. I see what else they'll have in store. Obviously, everyone listening will already have heard about by the time they hear this. But for closing music, I'm going to actually go for something that kind of stems from we've used plenty of different Pokemon game soundtracks down the years, obviously with the various occasions and tie-ins and whatnot. But this time I'm going to go for something that's actually from the anime. So, my experience with the anime, I kind of missed I wasn't really squarely in the target demographic, by the time it was, you could see it over here. I think I was probably about 14 going on 15 by the time it started airing over here, but I didn't have a Game Boy, so, I wouldn't get one until the GBA a couple of years later. So it was my sort of window into what the fuss was all about with Pokemon. I'd been reading about it in magazines about this series that just absolutely blew up in Japan and all that, before it got localized and all that. So, it was always of interest, and they had it on in a time slot that was basically, when I would be having breakfast before leaving for school. So, I saw, bits, not necessarily all of episodes, but bits of episodes, before I would set off. And this particular song is basically what you get at the end of, I would assume, a number of episodes, depending on how a given episode would end. But, basically it's just like, for me, the association, I came across this, I think, about, again, like 5 years ago, when there was obviously a bunch of Pokemon 25th anniversary kind of stuff floating out there. An episode where Ash is sort of, walking off into the sunset after saying goodbye to, some, pal, that they kind of came across that particular week. And so this is called Meeting and Parting. And I would be very surprised if you've seen any of the original, the first series of the anime, and this did not register with you. I'm sure it will trigger memories of that old show.
Oh, okay. I think I know what it is. All right. Well, on that, it is time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.